It's hard to say. I mean, the best way to get on my radar is just to be good at what you do and to bring something innovative to the table. The thing that makes it easiest for me to write about technology companies is for them to present their customers to me, because I like to write from the end user angle, and that's something at computing we focus on. So the best way to get on my radar is to approach me with a big, well-known, hard-hitting customer, someone that's a household name that have implemented your technology and seen direct business benefits from it. Obviously, PRs are very important to my daily work, because whenever I need to speak to an end user or a vendor, or just get any sort of comment for any story, the first port of call is the PR. The thing I find tricky is not always remembering which PRs are associated with which big brand, or sometimes not even knowing who the PR is. There seems to be no sort of global database of saying you can't just type in, say, Microsoft and say, right, who represents them? And obviously there's several companies, and I know the PRs actually for them very well. But that's one thing that I think is lacking. So whilst I know lots of PR people, maybe it's just me, I can't always remember who they represent individually. The biggest bugbear about PRs is probably the thing that I'm sure everyone says, which is the phone call saying, "Have you got my press release?" That doesn't make me any more likely to read the press release. It just annoys me, because it takes another 5 minutes out of my day. Or if I'm in the middle of writing a story, I've got a train of thought. Every time the phone rings, it interrupts it. And if it's the 7th call in that half hour saying, "Did you get my press release?" it's not very constructive. I do read all my emails, so I don't need those phone calls. That's a really tough one. I write from the occasional press release, so some of them do make it through to my news list personally. However, I do most of my news hunting myself on using various internet sites and using Twitter a lot. Generally, I don't write an awful lot from press releases, because they tend to, they kind of go everywhere. Occasionally, I'll get an interesting one, especially if it's a solid end user angle. Then I'll be interested. So I wouldn't say it's a complete waste of time, but I don't do an awful lot of stories directly from press releases, I have to say. Twitter I use every day without fail. I probably tweet between 10 and 20 times a day, which by some people's standards is almost nothing. Some people just seem to do thousands every day. I don't know how they find the time. But it's very important. For news searching, it's great. You get the latest stuff that's happened in the last minute, you'll see on Twitter. It's great for contacting people, and it's great for spreading information about my stories, getting my voice out there, and sort of advertising my own stories. So it's a great way to build up contacts and a great way to news hunt. I wouldn't say there's been any huge gaffes as such this year, but however I went to lunch with someone for an interview, and the PR girl, when she arrived, unfortunately slipped and created a huge bang. She was on high heels. It was just she was looking at the floor accusingly. I saw nothing down there at all, but she slipped, sort of shrieked and gave a huge, her arm whacked the table, and honestly the whole restaurant shook. And I wouldn't say that was really a gaffe, but it did get a lot of attention. It means I remember her very, very well, so it's a good way to stick in my memory.